Thanks for coming out tonight. We do this every single week, either here or online or both at the same time. So we're all glad you're here tonight. We like to start off our nights with show and share, where you're welcome to bring projects that you're working on or you've completed or you've completely failed so that we can learn from each other. And it's super fun to see people's projects. We have a little sign-up sheet. If you haven't gotten on this, let me know and I will add you to the bottom. But first, tonight we have Donald Rifkin with a stool.
This is I'm new to Knox Makers, so I didn't make this here, but it's a project I made in the past. It's a stool made from ambrosia maple. Maple is used quite often in furniture: hard maple, sugar maple, white maple, soft maple. There's many kinds of maple. This one happens to have been infected by ambrosia beetle, so it's commonly referred to as ambrosia maple. It's not really a variety of maple. It's maple that's been infected by ambrosia beetle, and for some reason they tend to infect maple trees more than any other tree. And what they do is they leave behind, this is a fungus, and they leave behind this beautiful figuring in the wood. So it's really bad for the tree, but it's really good for woodworking. So I made this out of a couple of solid pieces here, along with a pocket hole jig, and it's basically to sit on, and there's not much else really to it. It's a little bit bulky to pass around, so I was just going to leave it up here if you want to take a look at it. It's got a saddle notch joint in the middle where you cut half here and half there, and you put them together. It adds more strength. So, obviously a stool or a chair needs to be very strong for sitting or standing on. So, and that's pretty much it. Yeah. Yes. I did. It's got, I usually put a satin polyurethane finish. That's kind of like my favorite finish. And it's fairly hard, and so it won't scratch very easily. And you could also refinish it if you need to. So yeah,
Can you show the grain under the camera, or is that not going to show? Maybe the bottom? Oh yeah, that.
Right there.
Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah, you can
it's
see
pretty
the.
from up close.
Yeah, you'll see it. It always makes a greenish type of striations or figuring, and sometimes it's combined with other wood like walnut. It's really pretty when you put it with a contrasting darker wood. Okay.
Cool. Nice.
All right. There you go. I'm just leaving right here in case you're interested in looking at it. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Next up, we have Andrew with a fail. Failure. Thank you for showing off your failure.
Hey, thanks. Ooh, that could have been bad. Hi. If you guys were here last week, I've been kind of playing around with the live hinge as a way to pass light through for like a lamp figure. So this was kind of like a second prototype, if you will, for like a standing lamp, like in the corner of a room or something like that. Here, let me just hold her up here right now for now. So the first one was very, very pliable, and so I wanted to kind of push the limits of that a little bit. So what I came up with was a shape that was kind of like a triangle with circles on the side, on each corner of it. So I kind of threw that up in Inkscape, and it came out something like that. So that's the outside, and then of course the inside, which I won't be able to retrieve. Maybe I will. No. Anyway, so that's kind of the shape I was going for. I created, like I said, both an outside and then a 3mm gap, and then there's an inside piece also that matches this, so that I can kind of use the two to kind of form the thing. The wood that I used was the stuff that Brian left back there, just that 3mm. It's pretty rough actually, and as a result, there's a couple spots like here you can see where there was a knot, and so the laser charred it quite a bit more. I don't know if that's picking up or not, but it's pretty fragile as a result. There was actually another piece up towards the end, about here maybe, that ended up having to cut off because it got charred so badly that it basically broke on me. The other thing is this is a 3-ply plywood, and plywood is oriented with like a 90-degree grain orientation, so each layer is 90 degrees from the other. Since there's only 3, there's a flexi direction and a not so flexible direction. I only found that out because after I got done with this wasn't nearly as flexible as the first one I did. I was trying to figure out why, and so that's the reason why, is because I've got twice as much grain I'm competing with for the living hinge. So if you're doing that kind of stuff, look for that in the future. Like, you can expect to see that kind of thing, especially on the three ply stuff. So anyway, so yeah, like I said, just kind of another test case. It took about 3 hours to laser, which is a fair amount of time, but what else do I have going on with my life? So any questions? Yeah.
What kind of plywood was the first one?
It was the same stuff. So what it's that 3 millimeter. I don't know what grade it is. Yeah, yeah. There's a stack of it leaning up there. I don't know what Brian was using it for. It's some sheathing stuff that he dropped off. And like I said, it's pretty rough. Like it I don't know where it lived for a while, but it wasn't in the nicest locations. But yeah.
It lived at Jeffrey's.
Oh, was that it?
Jeffrey's hardwoods.
Okay.
There are sheets between the layers of Baltic earth, the protectors.
Oh.
So when they, disassemble it, they just chuck the sheets up on top of the rack.
Gotcha.
And Brian said, hey, I have some, and he brought them here.
Well, there you go.
The other question I have is, on this lamp, which way is the grain running?
So you can see that, like I said, 3 layers. The outside layer is running this way from both sides, right? And so the inside layer is running this way. So I'm competing against that with these bends. Yeah, well, step 1 would have been knowing to do that existed, that was an issue. But we've solved that now, so maybe the next step is maybe I'll actually pay attention to it when I cut it. Yeah, all right. Anyway, thanks, guys.
I look forward to more iterations in the future. Next up, we have Ori with a programmer.
So I got into playing with the ESP8266s, and I really enjoyed like those microcontrollers because, like an Arduino, they let you do a lot of stuff, very little programming background, and but as my projects kind of evolved, I wanted to get a little bit smaller, and I wanted to use just the actual controller part. And they're also a lot cheaper if you buy just this is the ESP12 Echo, but the challenge is that there's such a small form factor, and then the pins they're not the normal like 1.5 millimeter spacing. So I 3D printed this little plastic jig to hold the chip in there, and it squeezes in really nicely. And then I used some more rigid, I think it's a marine wire, bent it around and then soldered it onto the back to regular pin headers to program it and then to use it in smaller applications. And then the long-term goal is to be able to print some or to etch some PCBs and then actually do like a surface mount where I can just like lay those down and then hot air solder them right onto the PCBs. But programming them in the first place was the first challenge. So I actually got this working with just Arduino IDE to get my sketches onto the chip, and that was the first step. Then earlier last week, my thermostat died. I had a Nest, and Google is sending a replacement. But in the meantime, I thought instead of going out and buying another cheap thermostat, I would just take out one of my temperature sensors and write up a little sketch. And so now that is what it looks like in my hallway. There's a breadboard, and there's the 8266, the BME 260 that I had left over from my printer enclosure as the temperature sensor, and then I got a little relay up there, and it's just doing the air conditioning, not the fan or heat. So that was my temporary solution, and programming these has just been really cool for just all kinds of stuff around the house. Fun projects and sometimes not so fun projects, like it being way too hot in the house. But,
What does that one do?
so this one, I think this one, the only thing that I've actually written to it is the sketch to allow me to write sketches to it wirelessly, which is a really big step that I think it's only been around for a couple months or maybe a year or so. But with the wireless microcontrollers, you can add a part to the sketch to allow them to accept to be reprogrammed over the air. Wirelessly, yeah. But you have to put that into the sketch that you write to send to it if you want to be able to do it again, which that was the second learning from that.
So when you program that, are you using an Arduino as a programmer, or does that have an Arduino boot?
So the other step for this is, like, if you're using something like what I had on the like on my thermostat, those larger boards have the serial to USB portion of the board, the converter on them. When you're programming something like this, you have to have a separate serial to USB adapter, and then because these run on 3.3 volts, you also have to have a step-down voltage to program them, because I think the voltage coming off of regular serial USB is 5 volts, and these don't like 5 volts that much. They really prefer that 3.3, I found out. So yeah, those bigger boards are really nice, for a lot of applications, like the voltage thing, not having to have a separate serial connector. But these are great just because of their small form factor, and if you have the extra stuff, then they work really great. I can pass this around. It's real small.
Thank you. Last on our list tonight, we have David Peach with a success, fail, success.
Howdy, I'm David from Morristown Makers, and I came in a month or so ago and showed off some clipboards. I guess that's zoomed out as far as it'll go. Oh, there we go. Showed off some clipboards, and I had mentioned then that I had one that I really liked, but it broke, which is this one here. I had between two of the glue joints, it just didn't hold well. And when you're gluing up something so thin, then sometimes you don't get a good glue joint. So right here on these is a bad glue joint, and I'm not going to zoom in so you can see it. But you really, it is hard to see. I'll go in a little bit for you. It's this joint right here. And it's really not that terrible now. But with change of weather, in and out of the humidity, it was opening up some. So what I did is I stuck some bow ties in there on the back of the board, and I didn't go all the way through it. That gave me more glue surface on the part that was still open, so I just used a little CNC machine to cut that in there and then dropped in my bow ties. I'm real pleased with the way the repair came out. So I actually like the board more now than I did before. And I liked it before. I had some others that I was making to sell, and this one I wasn't going to sell because I just liked it. And then it started opening up, and then I repaired it, and I like it more now. So that's my clipboard repair, and I'll pass that around here in a second. Also, this Saturday at Morristown Makers, we're having a garage sale if you want to come out and visit and buy something or sell something. It's not limited to just our members, and there's no cost to set up a table, but you do have to bring your own table because we're probably going to run out. If you go, let everybody know that you're from here. I will not be there. I've got a funeral on Saturday, so I'm not going to be able to be there, but my wife will be there and several of our other members. So let them know that you're from Knox Makers.
Thanks, David. I like it when you visit us from Morristown. Do we have anyone else who didn't get on the list? No? All right, so announcements for tonight. One, we have the Craftsman bandsaw in the woodworking area is for sale for fundraising purposes, and I think you would talk to Tony about that, is that correct? So if you're interested in seeing it, it's in there, but if you're interested in buying it or have any more questions, you should talk to Tony. The laser tube, we recently replaced the laser tube in the laser, and the old tube has been sitting in hospitality for a long time, so John Dale has finally posted an auction. So if someone wants to purchase it in the laser channel, he's put up an auction for anyone who wants to buy it for whatever reason. It would make a great lamp or just decoration on your wall. It is pretty cool looking, and but it's very large, so you know.
What's the end, I haven't seen it, what's the end date? Next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday, you have until next Tuesday to bid. Also more about lasers. This Saturday is a laser class. You can go to the garage sale after the laser class. There's one ticket left. This is a class you need to be authorized to use the laser cutter, so I encourage you to sign up. And that's all my announcements. If you're new and you'd like a tour, please come to me, talk to me, or John Dale, and we will show you around. And otherwise, go make fun things.